Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Constine with TechCrunch TV, and today we're talking with Matthew Inman of the Oatmeal. Would you tell us a little bit now about where do you find humor? I mean, you're known as one of the funniest guys on the web, but when you look for inspiration or just something to relax, where do you look online?
Online, oftentimes I look in nature or in history. I love writing comics about undersea creatures, bears, things like that. As far as something a bit more practical, the types of jokes I write typically are the kind of jokes you would see in a stand-up routine. So I'm kind of an odd cartoonist in that I don't write traditional cartoons where it's a panel, and a punchline at the end. My stuff is almost more like this running dialogue. So stand-up is oftentimes where I get my inspiration from.
Now, you run the website The Oatmeal, which is full of all sorts of crazy comics about all sorts of stuff. You have a print book as well about great ways to punch a dolphin in the mouth, I believe. And you're so consistently entertaining. Do you think that there's a formula to being funny?
I don't think so. I mean, if there was a formula, then I think you eventually wouldn't become funny because all the jokes might be the same. For me, though, I do run out of jokes constantly, and I suffer from that, and I'm always worried that I've made my last joke. So a big crutch for me is if you're reading an Oatmeal comic and there's poop or bears in it, that means I'm having a bad day and I can't be funny. So I just throw poop and bears in, call it good, and that's what I do.
Are there any other elements of humor online that you think are getting really tired?
I don't know. I've noticed memes. Some of them tend to have a really short lifespan, where it's funny for a few weeks, and then after a while, you're kind of over it. I personally am tired of writing about. I made one bacon comic years ago, and now when people describe me like, "Oh, he makes bacon comics," I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't even eat bacon. It's a tired joke." Other than that, personally, I'm tired of writing about cats just because I wrote an entire book about cats. And I went on a book tour, and for weeks and weeks, every single person comes up to me and is like, "Let me tell you about my cat." And, "Oh, my cat's so great." And I'm like, "That's neat. Please tell me more about your cat." So for me, it's probably bacon and kitties.
So some of the most interesting and forward-thinking humor that we're seeing come out of the internet right now is developing on these very anonymous image boards, places like 4chan. Do you think that anonymity can help people create brave new memes, and why?
Yeah, I think so. And not just the anonymity, but the fact that it's just so easy. I mean, 20 years ago, to be a cartoonist meant you had to be able to draw, you had to be able to write a little, you had to be able to get syndicated. Now, if you want to be a cartoonist, you don't have to know how to draw. You just Photoshop something in, you just take a meme generator, you can do whatever you want. And if I were some jaded comic artist who'd been doing this since the 70s, I'd be probably upset by that. But to me, I think it's wonderful, seeing comics blossom right now, because it's almost like humor's been democratized.
Does that cause a sorting and curation problem, though? Is there too much chaff to sort through for people to find what's really funny?
I don't know. Maybe there's no real funny page of the internet. Like back when I was growing up in the newspaper, we had the funny pages, and that was sort of what you had. And now that doesn't really exist. You only see things that are rewarded based on how funny they are. So things that are getting lots of likes on Facebook, or things that are getting on the front of Reddit, or whatever medium you're using. So oftentimes that's sort of where I look for comics, is what's ever showing up at the top of my feed.
Yeah, it seems like the curation is all being done by the crowd. It's just this general consensus of what's funny, but not very much like certain people going out there and really curating. Yet there's I think the 4chan page on Facebook actually does a really great job of this. They're posting 30 memes a day, and they're sorting through hundreds or thousands of them, and they have really great taste. But I feel like there's not enough of that on the internet. Do you think that we're losing our ability to curate humor because we're just leaving it up to the crowd?
Yeah, maybe. There are some things I've followed in the past where it's just saturated. You take a JPEG, you take an impact font, you lay it on, and you call that a joke. But and actually, I follow 4chan. It's called Epic 4chan on Tumblr, and it's called 4chan without the horrible stuff. And it's just basically like 4chan G-rated. And they also do a really good job of filtering the good from the bad.
So along with things like Instagram and all these democratizing tools for creating media, it seems like we're moving to a kind of more visual communication culture where it's less about text and more about, maybe, or even if it is about text, it's about overlaying it on an image. It's about the image being the core of it. Do you think that's happening? Do you think we're losing anything because of that?
I don't know if we're losing anything. when I started making comics, I actually, in the beginning, I thought that comics were an intermediate step towards video and animation, because I thought animation's the best. The reader doesn't have to read; they just get to sit there and it's broadcasted into their face. But I've actually found in my work, I get more of, I kind of develop a better cadence when I'm writing comics, because you let the reader read, so they are in control of the pace. But you're not blasting them with 6 pages of text and paragraphs and lengthy sentences and all this kind of chore for them. So the way I write, it's these big, bold statements, arrows, drawings, and like I said, it lets the reader set the pace, and it's much more enjoyable to read.
So you helped get a Nikola Tesla museum funded. How's that going? Are you guys already building new ray guns and inspiring a bunch of new tinkerers?
It's going well. They're in contract to buy the property right now, so the money's been dispersed to the nonprofit group. I got to go on the property about a month and a half ago and actually go inside the building, and it sort of made me aware of how much work there is, because the building it's like being inside the Titanic underwater. I mean, it's just decrepit and terrible, and there's asbestos and there's silver poisoning, and even the plants are poisonous. There's like poison ivy, so it's like the whole property wants to eat you when you're on it.
Sounds like fun. I can't wait to go. Okay, to finish up, I'm just going to shoot off a bunch of different memes, and I want you to give like your quick reaction or what you think about them as a whole, okay?
Okay.
All right, the Harlem Shake.
Funny now, probably not funny in a week.
Lolcats.
Tired of that.
What's your favorite meme?
My favorite meme is It's a Trap.
4chan.
Frightening but amusing.
9gag.
Learn to credit people who draw things.
All right, cool. Well, I think that's a really important fact, is that there's great humor online, but we're sometimes losing who the author is, and people should remember that people are really putting their hearts into building the humor that's keeping life a little bit more lighthearted. And so remember, when you see those ridiculous bacon or bear or poop comics, that it all came back. It's all this guy's fault. Thanks a lot for talking with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.